Welcome back to CHUNTCAST. This is episode 7. Today, we're going to get to a few things shortly that caught my attention this week. 3 topics: Pokemon Sword and Shield Pokedex problems, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is coming back, and modern gaming issues. I have a few things that I want to touch on with that one. So stick around, and let's just hook in.
Oh, cool, Chunt.
Chunty.
Gotta start with a coffee. Alright, so before we get started, just an update on a couple of things. From last week I mentioned that I picked up Captain America Super Soldier on the Xbox 360 and I got it for free. So just as a recap, went to EB Games, picked up some old games from their bins, brought Captain America to the desk and they're like, that one shouldn't be over there, don't know why it's there, don't know if I can sell it to you. And I was like, just give it to me then. So he gave it to me, brought it home, doesn't work. So whatever, I didn't pay for it, it was free. I walked out with Duke Nukem Forever for $5 as well. Big deal. As I said, no harm, no foul. So that's a bit of a bummer. So I'm looking around for a disc, just on eBay or someone or somewhere might have a spare disc that they can part with. I don't want to spend, like, I'm looking on eBay for it and a complete edition or a complete copy. Like, mine's technically complete. It's got the manual and the disc and the case. Just doesn't work. So I just need the disc. I don't know how I'm going to go around that. Pricing on eBay is a bit stupid. A lot of games are cheap on eBay now from like original Xbox and 360. There's just these select titles that are just exorbitant amounts of money. Like Captain America Super Soldier, it shouldn't be $30 or higher. It really shouldn't, but it is. Mainly because of these Marvel films, basically. That's the only reason why it's that expensive. Because it is set in that universe and Chris Evans lends his voice again and likeness in the game. Anyway, I'll find out. I'll figure that out. It's a first world problem. Next one, I didn't mention it last week because I didn't think it was going to make it, but it did. Unicron, the Chaos Bringer, the biggest planet transformer ever. He's been backed. So for those of you who don't know, there's been a Kickstarter, not a Kickstarter, a Hasbro Labs, HasLabs type program. It is like a Kickstarter type of system where people will pitch in, they'll put down money or pre-orders or whatever, and they need a certain amount of backers before it will actually happen or go into production. So they needed a minimum of 8,000, and this has been going on for a couple of months now. And it was slowly trickling. They gave us originally like 30 days since they announced it, and everybody was like, "What? Oh, we can't get that money. You know, it's whatever, $540 something American. We can't get that money in such a short amount of time. This is ridiculous." And they're not offering payment plans or pre-order plans or anything. So any wonder why they weren't getting the numbers up easily? I mean, this is Unicron. There's never been a Unicron made like this. It's going to be 27 inches tall in robot mode and like 32 inches or something across in planet mode with the rings. So it's massive, right? And there's no reason people are saying this should have just been sold in stores normally. Anyway, this is going on the whole new topic that I could go on to, but maybe next week. I have my thoughts on toys and how things are these days and why they're more expensive than they used to be. Anyway, so it's been backed. I managed to put a pre-order down a couple of weeks before, I think, or maybe the week of before it was going to get backed, just to make sure. So EB Games or Zing here in Australia were offering a pre-order plan where you put down your $100 for your pre-order, and then you've got till December 2021 or whenever it ships to actually pay it off. So, I mean, that's an awesome deal. Not a lot of resellers around the planet were offering such a deal, but we were lucky to get that. Some were, so we did have options. So those of us who went through those resellers, they would then give Hasbro their numbers, and that would eventually add to the total 8,000. So yeah, I've got, 13 or 18 months or however long it's going to be to pay it off. Not a problem. It'll be like $10 a week or something like that for the next couple of years. I just had to have it. Like I've been going full nuts, like I mentioned in my last video. This War for Cybertron toy line. I'm loving it. It's really good. Some of the best Transformers I've ever seen, and I haven't collected toys in years. Actual toys. But this line just grabbed me by the nuts, and then they announced Unicron. I was like, man, I need that. I really do. It looks just like the 1986 movie. 86? I think that's right. The animated film. Looks just like it. I can't wait to get it, man. It's just... I'm going to need to find a spot for it. Who knows where I'm going to be in a couple of years. You know, who knows. So, yeah, anyway, that's exciting news. I'm very, very hyped. So, I guess in a couple of years when it arrives, I'll do a video on it. If I'm still here or if YouTube is still around, or... Yeah, that's a whole other discussion. Anyway, just wanted to touch on those two things before we got going, because they didn't really warrant their own topics. Maybe the toys one will, maybe next week. Anyway, let's hook in. So, Pokemon Sword and Shield, there's a Pokedex problem. Oh no, everybody's losing their shit. This kind of went right over my head because I didn't pay much attention to it, and had a few suggestions actually I reached out on social media on my various platforms like, hey, doing CHUNTCAST in a few days, any topics you want me to touch on, and this one came up pretty frequently. So I'm going to touch on it. So I looked into it, and apparently there's a problem. Apparently. So I looked into it. Turns out the game is set in its own region, which is fine. Like I plan on picking this game up now. I've got my new Switch. The Galar region, I think it's called. It's basically the UK, essentially, and it's like medieval themes and all that kind of stuff. It looks pretty sick. Open world. Pretty much a Pokemon game we've never had before. Like it's kind of like behind the character, like third person open world exploration, and the Pokemon are actually there out in the field with you. And when you approach one to challenge it, then you get into the normal fight mechanics view. So it's pretty exciting. This is something that this property hasn't done, and it's a new take, it's a new angle, new direction, but apparently people have a problem with this. So the main problem, basically the Pokemon that you'll find in this game, that's it. Like you won't have any of the old Pokemon, the old gen stuff. And that's where a lot of the people are getting cranky with, and that's where it starts. So also additionally the Pokedex of, what, it's like 800 Pokemon or something now, I made a note. Yeah, currently there's about 800 Pokemon or so. So you want to have 800 Pokemon in this one game? Like, we're getting to the point with Pokemon now, it's getting silly. It's getting stupid. Like, the real world has, like, millions of different species, and, you know, if this was a representation of the real world, that's not going to happen. And if you want to battle all these 800 different Pokemon, imagine as the developer having to balance all that and introduce game mechanics and animations and sound bites and just balancing the slight attacks and the damages and the effects of the special moves and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't imagine how much problematic development time that's going to take up. So, look, I'm not too butthurt about it. Like, as a guy who I need my Squirtle in every game. Like, Squirtle's my go-to. Every game that's come out, I always find a way to get a Squirtle, whether I trade it with someone or I find one in the game, and then he becomes my main straight away. And I try and rebuild my original Gen 1 team every game. So I do understand where people are coming from, where it's like you have your team and you want to go through every game with your team. I get it. I don't really like a lot of the new Pokemon. I'm willing to take a shot with this new game because it seems like it's doing something new in a new direction. And so this game's going to try and force you to kind of just get interested into some new Pokemon. Some of us old guys, like, we're probably not going to be too engrossed in it, and the new guys, new kids, this might just be their Pokemon, like their Gen 1 equivalent. So there's a lot of positives to have with it. I'm alright, I want a new experience. I wouldn't mind finding another one. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, or it's not going to enrich my life in any way at this stage in my life. Oh yeah, I found this one Pokemon in the Galar region, it just changed my life. You know, Squirtle was that for me when I was a kid. It didn't change my life, but I just really loved that little Pokemon. And then Snorlax as I got older, when I appreciated more sleep. And so, I don't know, I think there's a lot of fan entitlement here. Like, very much a lot of fan entitlement here. And they're calling out the developer Game Freak for being lazy. Because they're reusing game models. It turns out hackers have discovered that since Pokemon X and Y came out, the same game models and effects and animations from that game have been used in every subsequent game that's come out since. And I don't see the problem with that. I mean, the game models look nice. They look smooth. They look just great in this new one coming out. I thought Pokemon Let's Go had the best graphics that any Pokemon games had. I thought that was a beautiful game. And all the Pokemon look great and amazing, and how they should be represented. They just looked legit. So I don't really see the problem there. Like, why recreate the wheel, as they say? Like, why would you just go out of your way to create a new game model just to appease some nerd on the internet who doesn't think you've put enough effort into your game that you're building? I don't get that. I don't get the logic. Meanwhile, they've been building a whole range of new Pokemon in this new region for you. You know, get over yourself, basically. I also don't think Game Freak, I don't think they should be fearful of wanting to try new things and locking out other experiences to force you to kind of appreciate what's happening now and what this new game is trying to do. I'm okay with that. Like, I had my fill with Let's Go Pikachu. That was built for us old guys, you know, like all the old fans. You know, we don't have time to grind in these new ones, so they built this real simplistic game and made it accessible for new people, but also for us old people that are like, yeah, this is cool, this is my gen, and yeah, it's got all the old places and all the old characters, and there's some new bits in there, and it looks better than ever. I loved that game. Actually, I think I might just pick it up again, to be honest, now I'm talking about it. Shouldn't have got rid of my Switch way back when. Anyway, yeah, that's another discussion. I think I might actually pick that up again. What I'm trying to say is, fans, you can't have it both ways, right? You just can't. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can, depending on the circumstance. But with this one, if you're expecting Game Freak to go, alright, okay, we're trying to take the new direction here, but how do we appease everybody that's completed a Pokedex of 800 Pokemon, and they want to bring those into this new game? And if they're already cracking a shit about using old game models, why would they then go ahead and try and cut corners, so to speak, and bring in all the old game models from the old previous games and putting them into this as downloadable content, for say, or an upgrade to the game? And then you're just going to piss people off anyway, going, why don't you build new models, you know, but the Switch is more powerful, blah blah blah. You can't have it. Like, I'm sorry, like, unless you're the developer or you're in there, you're the creative director, you're the one that's paying the bills and making the decisions. I understand fan feedback can sway things, and some of it's warranted, but I don't believe this is warranted at all. Some of the comments that I've been reading online, and some of the news articles from journalists, game journalists online, yeah, with this entitlement mentality, it's just so cringeworthy. It's a Pokemon game. Seriously, if you want to play your old games, your old Pokemon, go play with the other games, you know, do that again. I don't know, maybe it's just a generational thing. I'm sounding really old now, but try something new. Don't be afraid. New experiences are good, and they broaden your mind and your mentality, and you know, they make you grow a bit. I'm trying to wrap this up in a positive note, but I mean, it's a Pokemon game. What am I going to say? Like, enjoy it for what it is. Maybe down the line there'll be a season pass, or you know, some paid upgrade, or somehow they'll figure out a way to make use of your Pokebank that you're paying for. I understand, that's another criticism that I do understand. These people that have been paying for their Pokebank, is that what it's called? Their service where you can upload all your Pokemon to this online cloud storage area that you pay for. And from there, all subsequent games, since that was incorporated, you can pull all your Pokemon down into the new game so you can play with your new team. I get that. I mean, that you're essentially being locked out of a feature that you've been paying for in a new game. I do understand that, and that's probably a fair criticism. But the key item is, they said at launch, it's not going to have the full Pokedex, and it's not going to have old generation Pokemon in there at launch. So who knows? I mean, this game's probably going to have a shelf life of, you know, a couple of years maybe. So what's to say that after launch they find out a way to pull all your old Pokemon in? And maybe you'll have to sacrifice some balancing issues. But then those fans that are really, really hardcore fans, you know, they're going to look into the balancing of all these Pokemon, and because there's competitive Pokemon tournaments and stuff. You know, it's a whole new thing. God, the more I talk about it now, the more I don't blame them for leaving it all out and just wanting a clean slate. What's wrong with that? You're at a completely different part of the world. It's an island, essentially. You know, all on its own, separate from like the Eastern culture side, and now we're going into the Western culture side of England, essentially. It's not Japan, so there's going to be a shitload of new Pokemon, new types there that you won't find in the East, you know? I get it. It totally makes sense to me. I say bring it on. Just come on. You got Pikachu in there already, for God's sakes, and God knows who what else. You got Coughing in there. He's got a massive top hat. I can't wait for that. So, look, I can't believe we've been talking about this long. It's really not a problem. It's really not a big deal. You've got 20 games or 20 Pokemon games or however they've made so far. Don't you want to try something new? Really? Is it about time that you should try something new? I don't know. Just grow a bit. Like as I said, I'm trying to make this end on a positive here. It could be the best game in years for all we know. This could be a surprise installment where you're like, damn, I like all these new changes and I like all these new Pokemon, and you just forget about the old ones while you're going through this new one. And then who knows, you know, the next one might be more catering to everybody else. This is just like an experimental, you know, mid-step or side-step kind of example. Don't be afraid of it. I don't know. I'm pretty much done talking about it because to me it's a non-issue. Really, it's really not. You got 800 Pokemon in your life, and this is going to give you what, another 100 or so. You'll find a new team. You'll find some new favorites. Make new friends. Anyway, I'll end this topic on a question back to you. Do you care about catching them all? Like, I know that's been the moniker of Pokemon, and this game kind of goes against that. Like, you don't catch them all. You can't in this one. Is that such a big deal? I can't remember the last time Pokemon advertising really pushed that catch them all moniker. Like, it's been years, I think. I think they've steered away from that. Like, the more and more it becomes near impossible to catch them all, you know? Unless you've been doing that your whole life. Anyway, let me know. Do you have 100% Pokedex? And are you butthurt about this new game? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next topic. Anywho, Ty the Tasmanian tiger is back. Apparently he's been back for a while. I had no idea. Really had no idea. Anyway, for those of you who don't know who Ty the Tasmanian tiger is, let's put this up here so you can have a quick look. This guy, back in 2002, an Aussie developer called Chrome Studios created this character, published by EA Games. It's Aussie as Aussie gets. I love it. I wish I played it back in the day. Apparently he's got a substantial cult following now in modern day. I'm actually surprised because there's a lot of these type of games that just fell under the radar and just died. But look, I always wanted to play this one when I was a kid, but I was into too many other games. Like 2002 when that came out, I think I was in my final year of high school, so I was into all kinds of other shit. At the time, you know, Xbox was around that time as well, and I was loving that and all the new games that were coming out for it. But yeah, I finally picked this up a couple years ago and loved it. Loved how Aussie it is. I'm like halfway through it before I moved to where I am now. I just haven't gone back to it yet. But this is just something you don't see very often. Like an Aussie game built by Aussies that's embracing everything Aussie. Like the slang is in there. That's, you know, Aussie voice actors. Terminologies are in there. Oh, I love it. It's really rare. It's something you don't see, and I wish to see more of it. Since last couple days ago, I went ahead and ordered the next 2 games because I just want to get through them and just see what I missed out on. I hear the other 2 are a bit in comparison to this one. Just some elements that they kind of jumped the shark on a couple of things, but from what I hear, the game trilogy, it's an example. They came out every year or something, every 2 years or something like that. I can't remember. Where they kind of ran with the times per game, and a lot of the similar type of mascot games were doing the same thing. Because, you know, there's plenty of games set in America, Japan, Mexico, and space, but never Australia. So this is a rare gem that I've just slept on, really, for forever. And apparently, all the 3 games have been released in HD remasters with all, you know, improvements and graphical improvements and camera improvements and God knows what's not on Steam. So you can get all 3 of these games on Steam now for a while. So I totally missed that too because I'm not a PC gamer, and I've been under the radar on this game for years. So anyway, so this leads me to the Kickstarter. There's a Kickstarter for this game. This just keeps rolling on. Like, this 2002, man, and it did make a name for itself back in the day. It was in the conversation, which is impressive, and it got 3 games out of it. I think EA published the first one, and Activision published the next 2, which probably explains why there's a lot of elements in the game that just diverges from what this one set out to be. If the last 2 were like this one, apparently it would have worked out a bit more, but I'll see for myself when I play through them. Anyway, so yeah, there's a Kickstarter out. It's reached its goal to hit on the Switch, so it's definitely coming to the Switch digitally, coming soon. And they've reached one of the stretch goals to bring it to the PS4. Yet to reach exactly the $150,000 mark on Kickstarter to bring it also to Xbox One. But they did a poll, and there was a choice between PS4 and Xbox One at the time, and PS4 won out. No surprise. But no, it's good to know that it's actually coming out on all 3 platforms, which is definite. But yeah, initially, straight up, when it launches, it'll be Switch and PS4 only at the time. So that's exciting. Depending on how this one goes, I might pick it up again on the Switch and see how good it looks with the new updates. It's not like a total remake, it's a remaster, so it's essentially the same game brought into HD era with new graphical effects and lighting effects and blah blah blah, just to make it look a bit more polished. It looks good for what it is. So yeah, anyway, it's amazing. I'm stoked to see that this Aussie developer is still around, because they had some very hard times I remember hearing about over the years, and just reading on their history online over the last couple of days. Like, yeah, they had something real special here, and there's a lot of stuff at the time in the world that I think might have suffered them a little bit. But it's good to see they're still hanging around and bringing this back, because I think Ty has a place. I really do. I think he's a strong character in a strong world. It has a place, and I think he should be more popular than he is. I think what he's got going has got better than what Sonic's been doing in his modern life. I'll tell you that much. Like, if you gave me a modern Sonic game or Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, I'll pick Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. And I love Sonic. It hurts me every time he releases a game that's shit. So anyway, yeah, I hope this game, when it comes out on Switch and PS4, I hope it sells like crack, because I'm a supporter of Aussie stuff. There's just not a lot of it. Or at least that reaches my view, and it's probably the fault of my own that I don't have my finger on the pulse as much as I probably should. But I do intend on backing this on their Kickstarter. I'm umming and ahhing about hanging off on the Switch version or waiting till I get it on my Xbox One. If I can get Xbox One onto my digital library there, I think that's where I'll probably aim for. Mainly because, Xbox is my main platform, and with xCloud coming out, I'm already in that mind frame of deciding my digital future, and what environment I'm going to be investing in. So, yeah, I'll think about it, and I'll make an update. I might just back it anyway and give my code to someone, who knows. But yeah, so depending on how successful this gets, it could be a Ty 5 in future. So you say 5? Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 5, you say? So I've talked about 1, 2, and 3. So what happened to the 4th one? Good question. I came across it a few years ago. It's on the Windows Store. Microsoft Store, it's on there. I don't know if it's on Steam as well. I would assume it is. But that was weird, and it's a 2D style platformer. It's alright. I've got it on my computer, actually. I remember playing that a couple years ago. After I got this, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just see if there's anything digital. I picked this up cheap, and I was like, are the original games out yet? And I couldn't really find much, but I found Ty 4 at the time, and I played it. It was a pretty good 2D side scroller platforming game, so it's a bit of an odd step, but man, if they do come out with a 5th game, like, I'll be there supporting it. As I said, I think it's a strong property. Stronger than what people might believe. If this had the right creative direction and the right backing, and I'm pretty sure the original crew are still involved with it, because they're bringing this out. I guess they would be. Like, who else would have, the energy to put all this out there to remaster them all in HD and then go to the trouble of bringing it to modern consoles. Clearly it must be the same original crew, which is good to see. I can't confirm that at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it would be. It just makes sense. So yeah, I do hope this sells really well. I really do, because Australian developers are great. They do a lot of special stuff, like the Untitled Goose Game. That's an Aussie developer. It's a special thing. It just took the world by storm. The last notable game for me, anyway, from an Aussie supporter, LA Noire. That was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. I know there's a lot of problems with development in that game, but I thought it was just really special. And then way back when, there was Melbourne Studios that did this Transformers Armada game that was just spectacular. And they were doing lighting effects in that game I never saw on any other game on that era of PS2. It only came out in PS2, and I was an Xbox guy, and I remember having to just steal my brother's PS2 to play it every now and then. I do wish that came to Xbox. Literally, it's one of those games that I loved thoroughly, that I would go and buy a cheap PS2 somewhere and just to find that game to play it. And so there's a lot of Aussie talent that we just don't get to see on the big play. So that's why I'm kind of like, yes, Tire's coming back, and these kind of mascot platformers are having a bit of a resurgence now. You got Ukulele doing gangbusters. So I'm all about it. I missed those games. I missed that era. Those games I kind of gravitated more to back in the day. I'm about to touch on that in my next topic. But look, I gotta say, have you heard of this game? Have you heard of Ty the Tasmanian Tiger? Have you played any of it? What are your thoughts? Let me know. Would you pick up the new game on Switch or modern consoles? I don't know how much it's going to be, but I am very curious to know. So leave a comment below, and let's get right into it. So yeah, I'll move on to the next topic now, and I'm going to have some more coffee. Modern gaming. I have some issues with modern gaming. It just hasn't held my interest. It really hasn't. I think the games of this generation I've played the most has been Destiny 1, Destiny 2, maybe Gears 4. Gears 5 I haven't played as much of lately. That's my own fault. Been doing other things, but look, I can count on both my hands how many physical copies I actually have of modern games. When I look at my shelf for older games, and I'm still picking up old games for Xbox and 360, I've got more games on my shelf for those old consoles than I do the new era. I've got an Xbox One and a Switch. I think I've got maybe 6 or 7 physical games for Xbox and 3 physical games for my Switch at the moment. Granted, there are things that have changed. The landscape has changed for games. There's too many of them for a start. To me, there's just too many games. You just can't physically play them all. You just can't. And I think it's kind of just drowning the options. Like, options are great. I get it. It's good. There's a game for everybody. That whole discussion. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. It could also be because I'm older in life now. Like, I'm 34 and I can't just spend all day living a game. And, with no worries like I used to when I was younger. With no responsibilities. I was studying, or I wasn't working, or whatever. I was still living at home. And you can just spend all day playing a game and it's not a problem. During school break or something like that, you could just play games. Or hang out with your friends at their place playing games. You could just live these experiences where we can't now. That could very much have something to do with it. And I'm pretty sure it plays a part in, like, some games I used to be good at and I'm not so good at anymore because I just can't focus so much time in them these days. So I might possibly be jaded in that area. Games have never looked better. Don't get me wrong. Technically and visually and audibly, they've never been better. Like, they're just stunning experiences these days. Don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-pooing on that at all. It's just when I look at this current generation, I don't have games that I can look back. I don't think I'm going to have games that I'll look back on fondly or with nostalgia-like eyes as previous generations. And that bothers me a little bit, because it just shows that the platforms and the cycle of the game industry and how we play them has definitely changed. Like digital, I'm okay with digital. I am going forward because, you know, space is a problem. Just the option of buying a new console and your library is right there. You know, particularly with xCloud coming out, I'm very interested in that. Very interested in that, actually. So I'm more inclined to have a digital library. And Xbox Game Pass is the thing. And even then, I play a few games in it, and it's not much. It's like $15 a month for the Ultimate Pass, and that gives me my Xbox Live and my Ultimate, and my Game Pass for cheaper than I would be spending on both separately. So that's a great thing. I've yet to find out if it's going to be rolled in with the xCloud, which I'm hoping for, because I don't want to pay much more than $15 or whatever it is a month. If it's going to be an extra $5, you know, I might be balking at it because I won't use xCloud that much because I'll be at home a lot or at work a lot. So hopefully it's not going to be too much. Look, for now, my main issue with modern gaming is just how diluted it is now and how incomplete the experiences are. Like, I'm a massive Gears of War fan, and I used to be a massive Halo fan. But how they've handled the new games, they've diluted it. They've diluted the experience. You can't just grind at a game to... grind's probably the wrong word, but you can't just play the game and find out ways to unlock stuff within the game like we used to be able to in the old days. Like, I know this whole rant, this whole CHUNTCAST is like making me sound old as, but I'm telling you, the games that I have on my shelf from my original Xbox and my Xbox 360 days, most of it, particularly in the Xbox days and the early 360 days, most of it, all the content was there on the disc. And it could all be unlocked on the disc, and you could get a complete experience on the disc. Whereas now, there's that old meme that keeps going around where to unlock stuff, you better put your credit card in, kind of thing. And I don't like that. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not. And Gears 5 has really solidified for it, because a lot of games I just don't give a shit about, so whatever they do, they're going to do. I'm not going to play them like NBA games and Call of Duty games and Fortnite games. Like, it's all up there. It's all diluted and weak, and the base game is very bare bones, and the grinding aspect for it is purposely designed to be too slow and too the progression is too slow, and you don't get rewarded enough, so you're more inclined to spend. And I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that at all, and I'm going to not play any game that has that in it. And Gears of War 5, as much as it sucks to admit, it's kind of doing that for me. The campaign is fantastic, don't get me wrong. That experience I'll take away forever. That was such a great campaign. I loved it. Massive smile on my face. And as I mentioned in my review of that, I haven't played a game like that in years. So I'm not poo-pooing that experience. It's when I've moved over to the multiplayer aspect, where in Gears 3 it was the best, because you could just unlock everything as you played. Whereas this one, it's such a grind. It's so slow. There's so many hoops to go through to unlock things. The Tour of Duty system is flawed. It pushes you into game modes that you don't really want to play in order to progress further to unlock X skin or whatever character. There's characters locked behind this Tour of Duty system that you played as in the campaign. The main characters. Like, there's a normal JD skin that's locked behind the Tour of Duty upgrade system. How do you figure that? I don't get it. There's skins that are all locked behind certain aspects of, you know, you got to do this on this map, this amount of times or whatever in this game mode to get this. And I can't stand that shit. It's just, these games are now basically structured to get you to sit there and play it constantly. You know, there's streaming culture, and that's what it's all about. You need so much content in there to have people sit there and play it longer, so the grind is artificial. No, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. Destiny 2 seems to have it really good at the moment. I've noticed every time I've played, because I barely play it, right? And when I do, it's in small bursts of a couple of hours or whatever. And lately I've walked away with, I've gotten something out of it. I've gotten some actual notable progression from playing the game. And I don't feel like I've wasted my time, and I don't feel like I'm going in expecting to spend or invest some time to get something out of it. You know, whereas a lot of games these days, it's the exact opposite. And that's why I'm not going to walk away from this generation much of a fan. As I said, they're probably, the games have never been better, and we've had such a wider selection than we've ever had, but to what detriment? That's where my problem comes in. Like, for now, I'm picking up more older games on the Xbox. I've got a long list on eBay that I'm going to be working through for Xbox and 360, where I can play unhampered experiences. You know, that's what I'm looking for. To have a complete unhampered experience that I can just play. You know, without having to worry about online systems and, you know, loot chests and getting enough stars to unlock something in a game type that I don't care about. I'm not about it at all. And if this is where gaming is going, I'm going to have a real problem with it. Just saying, like, I know the new kids on the block, this is probably all you know, and this is what you expect the game industry is. You've never lived it before, which is just a matter of fact. Like the Xbox 360, there was a 10-year life cycle, pretty much. You know, now we're 3 or 4 years, or maybe close to 5 years into current gen. So it's a good, say, just for average 15 years worth of gaming in the last 2 gens. A lot of people have been born, you know, so, and they're still young, so they could only be 13 or 15 or something like that, and this is what they know. This is the landscape that they know, unless they take the mature approach and go back and see what it was like beforehand. Yeah, I don't know. I know gaming is it's amazing, and it earns more every year than Hollywood does. You know, it's the biggest earning entertainment medium in the world, but to what end? You've got people spending $220,000 in Transformers Earthrise. Earthrise, that's a new toy section. That's a new toy line that's coming out that I'm excited for. It's top of mind. Transformers Earth Wars, I think it's called. And a guy spent $220,000 on that game on microtransactions. You know, that's a problem. And that's a whole other topic, but it does happen. And then previously, a couple of weeks before that, it was unveiled that someone on RuneScape spent 90 grand on that game. So it's just predatory now. It's predatory of your time. It's predatory of your money. Predatory of your experience. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not. So I'm interested on what your thoughts are. Like, I sound jaded and I sound entitled, which is kind of what I was explaining in the Pokemon section, but I don't think this is the same thing. This is just me voicing my concerns for the actual industry and the experiences on offer. You know, not a Pokedex. You know, this is actually affecting the whole thing and an individual's enjoyment of the medium. It's not that I'm missing out on an experience, it's just that my experiences have changed in a form that it's not acceptable. I believe it's not acceptable. And I'm kind of walking away from it. And that's a problem. There's got to be more like me out there, right? There's got to be more people that are feeling the same thing, because, we've got one person feeling something, there's always going to be another person, right? So if I'm going back onto eBay or onto Amazon or to Facebook Marketplace or who knows what, looking for all the games because you're like, nothing new is grabbing me. I maybe want to play Ultimate Spider-Man again on Xbox. Or, maybe I want to play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 on my 360. Because XYZ reasons, because everything's going to be there. And it's its own experience. I don't want to rabble on too long about it, but that's my main problem with modern gaming today. It may sound entitled, but I think it's a genuine criticism. And I can't be alone in that. And who knows? Maybe Scarlet Generation and PS5 will turn all this on its head and offer more complete experiences, because God knows we've been flooded this generation with such weak stuff. Such weak, watered down experiences. Nintendo keeps doing it good. Like, if we need more of that on the AAA game space, and just overall in general, I think the big two companies really need to lean into that some more, because not everything needs to be a Fortnite. Or not everything needs $220,000 from you. It shouldn't. No way in hell should it. You should just pay your entry fee and that's it. Increase the price if you need to from 90 Australian to 100 or 110 or whatever. Just give me everything. Don't hold anything back. That's what I want. I want just one entry fee and I'll walk away with that product and be happy as. We'll do what Destiny 2 is doing now and offering complete expansions, you know, for you to lose your time on and enjoy for, you know, 30, 50 bucks once a year or something like that. I'm happy with that. That's fine. It gives me something new. Anyway, I'm ranting on now. I'm pretty passionate about this problem, and I get stuck in conversations with some people going, oh, have you played this or have you played that? And it's like, no, I just don't give a shit. Oh, don't you play games anymore? It's like, yeah, I do. It's just don't like a lot of new ones, that's all. You know, like the perfect example is Konami bringing out a new Castlevania game on mobile. You guaranteed that it's going to be full of microtransactions. Anyway, and Silent Hill is the new Silent Hill game that was announced as a big Chinko machine. Thank you, Jim Sterling. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yep, trying to end this one on a positive, I guess. I get a lot of free time back, I guess. I can read more comics or watch another movie or sleep. I guess that's a positive takeaway from it. Yeah, I'll have to ask you again, what are your thoughts on this topic? Are you as jaded as I am? How many hours a night or how many hours a week are you playing games these days? Very interested to know. Or have the microtransaction or monetization of these games, have they turned you away like it has me? Alrighty, my coffee is cold. Fantastic. So this is the section where I start wrapping it up, and we'll end the video on Posy Peeps. So here I'll be putting on some positive comments that I found throughout the week, and just to end on a positive note overall. Trying to be all about that these days. It's a mind transformation instead of all the noise that's been going on. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and you know, I'm not trying to get all like, you know, peace and love, man, but it does help when you know, put that out there and people reciprocate. It's better than yelling into the void of negative shit. It's just not required. So I'll be wrapping up now. I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. I did ramble on a couple times there, but some of them I'm pretty passionate about. I was reining it in as good as I could. Still a bit rusty on getting back onto doing this, but hopefully you're enjoying it for the time being. And yeah, look, leave a comment below on what your thoughts were on any of these topics. I am interested to know. You know, I'll keep it positive, of course. You know, criticism is one thing, but just being a dick's not. I'm sure you guys are smart enough to understand the difference. Socials, unclechunt.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Mixer, Uncle Chunt. That's where you can find all my shit. All the links are on my unclechunt.com anyway. So yeah, to wrap up, Posy Peeps slideshow coming on after this. In the meantime, just remember, ooh, noisy bar here. In the meantime, be kind to each other, enjoy yourselves, look after yourself, and come back next week and we'll have a bit more fun. Toodaloos.